In this video, I'm installing a new lock system for my front door. It's awesome. It has a simple handle and a punch pad system, so you don't have to have a key. Under $100. Let's get at it. So I went to the store because I need a new lock for my door, which we just installed. And if you didn't see that video, you should watch that when you're done watching this one. Instructions, very important. Before we get going, listen, there are a ton of different lock companies out there, different systems. Yep. And this is French. Here's English. I don't care which one you buy, okay? Read the instructions from front to back before you start. These systems can be tricky, and there's a lot of little hints in here like, do this with the lock open, do this with the lock closed. And if you get it out of order, you're in for a lot of headache, and then you're gonna end up calling this toll-free 1-800 number and spending the rest of your day listening to elevator music, waiting for someone to help you out. So, we're gonna install this one, and the reason I got it is because it's cheap. I love cheap things. I'm a big fan that if I can get something for under $100, there's no reason to spend $250. I like design, but in a house like this is like modern rustic farmhouse, right? It's old. It needs to be brought up to speed, but it doesn't have to be over the top. There's no sense of us spending a lot of money on a lot of things that don't add value to the home. And a lock system is not one of the places I want to spend a lot of money. Let's face it, if somebody really wants to come in, I don't care which lock you put on that door, it's coming open. Step 1, safety instructions. And a whole lot of things that if you do, void your warranty. Step 2, tools you need. A screwdriver. Everything else is optional. If your door only has one hole, you're going to need a lot of tools. We'll go through those in the video. If your door already has 2 holes in it, then all you really need is a Phillips, and you can disengage and then reinstall the new one. That would be easier, but I like to do it the hard way. Step 3, drill the hole in the door if you need one. Got it. We need a drill, a 2 1/8 inch hole, and we need to center it on the same one as that hole, and we got to put it a few inches above the other one. Good. Let's do that now. Okay, so here's your template. This line is the edge of the door, so let's get that on the edge of the door. Let's crease it there and find it. Good. And then we just want to pull this down and line up that hole there. Got it. And then bam. So we're on this center line, which is right here. Okay. That didn't translate very well, but it was right there. Let's just confirm that now. I'm just checking my daylight coming through the hole. Good. And then, good. Alrighty. This is a 2 1/8 Milwaukee bit. It's a lot of fun. Most of these hole saw bits are very smooth on the outside. This one, they actually cut the teeth and they put a little flare on it. Right where you cut is a 32nd of an inch wider than the hole. They flare the teeth out so that when you're drilling through metal, the rest of the bit isn't overheating, causing everything to expand and get locked onto the system. It's really nice. Basically, you can see that my pilot extends about 1/2 inch past my teeth. So we're going to drill for a little bit, and when I see the pilot come from the other side, we'll switch around and finish drilling from the other end. Safety note, when drilling through metal, always wear safety glasses, even if you can't see what you're doing. Here we are. Now, here's a tip of the day. When you reach the metal, put it on reverse and push. And just score it first. Then put it on drive. And that little bit of score there will help keep all the teeth in line exactly where you want them. Woo! It's gonna kick, so make sure you hold tight. Hey. And we're through the other side. When drilling from the other side, I suggest drill left-handed. Here we go. Put it on reverse and just scratch it up real good first. Then go forward. Very important here, let the drill bit do the work. Don't push too hard. Very satisfying. So, to mark the center of the hole that drilled on this side, you just put the center mark on this hole. And you'll take your template, you line it up, and mark your center line. Boom, ready to drill. Nice and slow, make sure you get the hole in the center line, and then once you're happy with what you're doing, get committed. Now you'll see that the teeth are going to get clogged up with the wood fiber. Okay, what you do is turn it on reverse. That cleans the teeth. Then you can keep going forward. Whoop. All right, now you can only drill so far at a time. So what you do is you take your screwdriver, put it in the hole, and you pop that core out. And that'll help keep things from overheating on you. And you just do that a few times until you get to the inside of the lock. A little bit of rocking motion helps make that hole just a hair bigger, cuts down on the heat. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid. Now the cord broke off inside my bit. That's not too hot. Okay. We're gonna just take this off now because we don't want to leave the core in there. There we go. Had I pulled out sooner, that never would have happened. Woo! Smoky! Yeah, no. Just keep on breaking off those pieces. One more time and we're done. Okay. That is the end of that demonstration. So step 4 is all about your hardware. Now it comes ready to go for a pre-mortised door. So this door came off the shelf, it's mortised, we can stick it in, latch plate facing the door so that it closes and it will shut. Nice and simple. The deadbolt, we drilled our own hole and it's sitting proud. And so they also come with the option of a deadbolt installation sleeve. So what we do, we're just going to take our screwdriver, put it in this little slot, give it a twist, and the other side. And then this should just slide down, quarter turn, and I don't know, sometimes they pop off the top, sometimes they pop off the bottom. Looks like it's coming off the bottom. Done. Now, they have the sleeve that's designed for this plate as well. We don't need that. We need this one for the deadbolt, and we will slide it over top. Okay, snaps in place. There's my deadbolt. Now, on the assembly, 2 things to note. One is on the assembly, it has an up sign and an arrow. This varies up when you stick it in the hole, and then you have to set the depth adjustment for standard, which is what we have, not, or the extended one. So what you'll find is when you stick it in the hole, this slot here is right dead center. Okay, so if it's an old door, you're going to want to shorten it. If it's a new door, that'll be standard now. Nice thing to consider that. And we want to just stick that in there. And we want to hammer it with something. Boom, 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 with something. Hey, that's what tape measures are for. Perfect. Okay. Now, to finish the installation of these 2 latches for the traditional plate, screw to install. All right. So the next step is the strike plate. Since we don't have our second hole yet, we need to put our screwdriver in that slot, open this up, and let's mark where that spot is. Now, good news for us, we're going to be painting all this later. Here we go. And we want to pick the center line of that, translate that information, make your mark. So this cute little piece of plastic is exactly 1 inch diameter, like my 1 inch spade bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this on the center hole, drill ourselves a hole, and then insert this in the wood so we can trace out what we need to mortise for our strike plate. So the plastic turns out needs 1 1/8 spade bit. So we're not using plastic. I did just check the door. Everything works great. The deadbolt sits perfectly in that hole. So now I'm just going to trace over this as center as I can. And I'm going to have to mortise this out with a chisel. Oh my. Whoopsie. I don't think this is ideal, but if you buy a door off the shelf at your local building store, you're going to find that you too will need to chisel out your own mortise. That's a little aggressive. That's what I want. There we go. Okay. There we are. All right, once you get that chiseled in, it's just a matter of lining up the screws. Remember, always back it up and burn it in before you drive it through. That'll keep it from splitting. Very nice. And here we go. And this is all pre-mortised. Again, can't stress how important it is to drill that backwards first. These plates, your screw is going like 1/4 inch from the hole. Guaranteed to split every time if you don't. Whew. Let's double check one more time. Nice. Oh, I don't have a handle. There we go. Now it's time to put on the outside handles. And they're all screwed together on this plastic little doohickey. I've seen this for a lot of years now. Looks great in the display. None of the screws in this installation to the package are required for installing on the door. So get rid of them as soon as you can, or they will drive you crazy. Make sure you put this in the right hole. There are 2 options. This is preset for the short depth. This is preset for the long depth. Some assemblies you have to adjust them. This one you don't. You just slide it on in. Now, it's impossible to screw together at this point without doing this. So depending on the design style that you get, there is a release pin for these handles, and you can release this and you can change your handle to something more curvy. Or if it's on a left installation and you want to turn it to a right installation, what you need to do is remove both handles from each side and then just switch them around, and they'll just slide back into place and lock in. That's just a little something in case you need to know. All right. For us, our installation is pretty straightforward. We basically want to set the middle of our handle over top of that square, line up the 2 screw holes parallel at 3 and 9 o'clock. Now, when you're putting in your screws, use your fingers, go backwards until you feel it catch, and then run it forward. That'll guarantee you don't strip the threads. It's a great time to remove the handle so that you can do this. Now warning, you don't want to go very fast here, and you don't want to over tighten. Okay? Slide that on. Perfect. Bottom one's done. Okay, so for the locking mechanism, make sure that it's perfectly squared off and it'll drop in and recess. Okay, this pin can be adjusted here. The secret with this system is keep this closed the whole time with this installation, okay? Now you're feeding your wire underneath your lock set, okay? And then you're putting this through the flat part of that bar. Now, you generally don't want to be using the wire as your anchor, so use your left hand to hold this all together. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. You know, you have this plate, and it says here against the door, okay? And so it marked on here real plainly, the cable slides through this little section. That's great, and then that goes over the locking bar. And then there are 2 screw holes here that line up with the front. And these screws, just like in the diagram, it says, you know, you slide that in, you'll make contact. Again, make sure you're not cross-threading. Tighten these things on with your fingers first. Any screw that you can tighten with your finger is not cross-threaded. That is always a good way to know that you're doing it right. Okay, once we got that all lined up, we tighten in the screws. Nice. Okay, before you tighten it up too hard, open your door, because it's a square plate, and visually get it where you want it. Okay, now if you mess that step up, you can always adjust the tightness on this later. You don't want to be able to twist that with your fingers after you set that. Now in the instructions, we have to install this electric cable. One side is just pure white, the other side has an orange bar on it, and that orange bar should be visible when you install it right up here, and it's just a plug-and-play system, so it should fit in the hole without too much difficulty. Of course, it's going to be really difficult now because I just said it should be easy. And just to make sure it's installed all the way, I'm just going to take my screwdriver and give it a little bit of upwards pressure. Nothing too major, but I don't want to be yanking on the wire to test. Now, this wire harness is supposed to thread through this little grip right here. Set this horizontally, slide it over top. Okay, and then there are 2 more screws to attach these 2 plates together. These are machine thread, and they don't look like they reach. Oh yeah, they do. There we go. There we go. Okay. All 4 batteries. Let's put them in according to polarity. Okay. And enter the default master code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're waiting for a green light. And there it is. Haha, we got it. All right. And that is that. Wow, that is awesome. So we have keys. Step number 1, 2, and 3, 4 for programming. Keep this paperwork, set up your code. You can have 1 master code and you're allowed 10 other codes. The reason we got this is so that when we're on holidays, we can have our kids come by and take care of our house and our dog. So, there we go. Simple. That was about as simple as it gets. Finally something that worked the first time. So make sure to check out all the videos on our modern rustic farmhouse remodel, and don't forget to subscribe.